right, this is Mike McDonald with Web Pro News. We are at SMX Advanced. I'm with Brent Csutoras and Todd Malicoat, and we wanted to just catch up. We caught up with you guys in New York, I guess, right? And we talked about some social media sites and apps and things like that, and you guys had a pretty interesting video about the pros and cons of Facebook and Twitter and whatnot. So I wanted to kind of touch base with you again a few months later and see where everybody's head is. Yeah. So. Who wants to go first?
About,
right.
Yeah.
Here, why don't you just and I'll just chime in. Who wants the microphone?
I never after the last video.
Yeah. But I'm here. No, okay. Well, never mind. Really. All right. All right. There.
So did you give up on Facebook yet?
No. So we actually we talked about this day before yesterday, and then we're sitting in the bus, we're debating all this, what we've learned since then, and it was still brand new. I mean, Twitter and Facebook are. Not brand new, but getting in there, and 6 months time on these new venues is a long time, and so we're kind of talking about it, and it turned into a semantic kind of thing, or a semantic kind of debate of he's saying Facebook ads aren't actually social media. So I'm saying you should be doing Facebook ads because buying ads on Facebook is, there's actually value there.
But that's advertising.
Really, so it's advertising versus, I'm like, no, it's still social media. You're marketing through a social media outlet.
But
that's ad buys. It's ad buys. I mean,
it's
just
really
because you ad buy
ad.
on a social media site does not mean you're social media marketing. That's my opinion. My opinion is that that's buying ads. That's advertisement. That's not social media. I mean, you wouldn't call it SEO.
So, but it's marketing on social media, but it's not social media marketing.
Yeah, yeah.
Is that accurate?
Yeah.
I mean, if you use Google AdWords, are you doing SEO?
No, but you're doing search marketing.
I think we got
all right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
okay.
on to Twitter.
On to Twitter then.
Twitter has been actually exploded ever since we last talked about it. I don't think you were using it at that time.
I was not at all.
And then I forced you to get into it.
I had an account and wasn't really doing much with it, and had just started kind of posting for, hey, I think actually in New York I started doing it because everybody was doing the Twitter hoaxes, and I was like, oh, this looks like a fun, geeky, dorky, nerdy kind of thing to do, so I'll screw with Greg Bozer on Twitter too.
Right.
I think actually I was at your house and I had your Twitter account open. You hadn't posted in forever. I think I actually posted for you.
I'd signed up a year ago and then just had this account sitting there because as soon as something comes along, you're saying friend feed now, and I just sign up for something, and then if it actually gets people using it, then it's like, okay, let's check this out a little further. So that's kind of where I was with Twitter in New York. Is like, okay, I can see this. There's something here because everybody's on it. Let's see what it's actually good for.
And I was using Twitter pretty heavily at that time, but it was still kind of in the mix of whether or not I felt like it was a viable avenue for marketing. It was more or less, for me, it's kind of like almost like the Webmaster Radio chat room, in a broader environment. So it's an IRC chat room for me. I have a tool that I use, Twirl, that puts it in a window. So it's just like having an IM window with everybody talking. And so for me, it was more of just connecting. But what I did start finding some value in, and I've noticed from some other people, is that if you're looking for answers, you can almost get an instant answer. If you're looking for what was the name of that script that does this, or how do I edit something in WordPress, how do I do some of those things, almost instantly you can get a quick answer. And additionally, I think people are starting to find work and starting to find employees and starting to find projects through Twitter just because it's an instant access. One of the other great things is that, like, if you want to talk to Matt Cutts or somebody like that, it's really difficult to get in his inbox with the 500 other emails and get some kind of response from him. But with Twitter, it gives you that opportunity to really put your message instantly in front of somebody without really being spammy, without being annoying, because you can't really talk over 140 characters.
Right.
Well, you could be. I mean, if you started really getting into it. But
in 3 words.
But so, I mean, I've started to find even more and more value in Twitter. And then there's some other things that I do in Twitter that I'm going to shut the fuck up about and not talk, But there's some other things that if people get creative and start figuring out that they have an audience and figure out a way to utilize that, then it's got additional values as well.
What else is new in terms of this kind of thing? Any plugins you talk about, friend feed and stuff like that?
Well, Twirl's the big one that, you know,
For the
when
Twitter
you just
plug,
get on,
yeah.
you got to have the desktop app is Twirl. But you were saying some other ones. Actually, I heard TweetScan or something for actually.
TweetScan is actually like a web page that's API driven, and you can go in and you can say, I want to see anybody that's talking about this term, and you can actually say, I want to see this term by this user within 24 hours. So you can go in and you can scan, and it will go through the entire database of Twitterverse, whatever, the Twitterverse, a bunch of twits on Twitterverse. But you can actually go and scan. So I've used it quite a few times when I'm like, I remember somebody said something a month ago about this, and I want to quote it for something. I'll go and do a search based on that, and I can find their actual twit. And so, but Twitter's been having a major problem lately in the fact that it goes down about 5 times a day. I think they've finally fixed it. It's been pretty stable for about the last 2-3 days.
They have a lot of caps and stuff like for.
Well, they dropped the cap down. It used to be like, I think 70 an hour was their API max, and then they dropped it down to 30, which caused Twirl. When I open up Twirl, it says I have to wait 5 minutes. I mean, I've exceeded my limit before I even start, so it's gotten to the point where I can't even use that. And that was kind of where friend feed has gotten some legs. Is that friend feed is kind of like Twitter in some ways, where you have groups and you have feeds that people can watch, and it mixes everybody else's in there as well. And so you get kind of the same thing, and it lets you add links a little different and comment on other people's comments a little bit more. But for the most part, people have gone to it because Twitter's been down. But I think the overall response I've seen from FenFeed is that once Twitter comes back up, it goes pretty dead.
Twitter must just be getting scraped to death.
Maybe.
I mean, it's got that critical mass now where everybody's dumping in content.
They need to.
I would guess they need to. Well, they need to talk to Incredible and some of the bot herding guys and say, you know what, keep these rogue bots and everything and only use the API, because to me, I'm guessing that's part of the problem is they've got to that point where they're just getting hammered. You know,
well,
the servers
just buy a server,
and buy more. Well, buy more machines isn't always the answer.
Yeah,
they could have a server farm someplace for all we know. I'm sure they're pretty well scaled.
Well,
at this point anyway.
you have some background in that. What's the load on a system that only does IM messages back and forth? I mean, how much of a load does that?
And you've ran a spider too. You've ran Xenu or something, and seen you can put 5 connections to it, and you can hammer something. You know, any website you can see how hard it can get hammered, and then multiply that by 100 different sites or 1,000 different sites plus all the user base. And all of a sudden, you're
it's just the connections. It's the constant API type
Brett at
connections.
Webmaster World has always been a big proponent of blocking rogue bots and everything else, and keeping bad spiders out, because mainly the bandwidth. When you get up to a site that large and you're getting just hit, bandwidth is cheap until you get 10 million users sending 25 tweets an hour or whatever. So,
all right. Well, good chat.
Yeah.
Cool. Good. Right.
Yeah, sure.
All right. You want to take us home, or you want to give me the mic back?
All right.
Until next time.
I don't know. Do I get to hit you for taking the mic?
This is Todd Malicoat, Brent Csutoras, and Mike McDonald with Web Pro News. Until next time.